This is Josh Powers, and I am Parker X.
All right, I'm Lester Mascon, and this is Parker X, and today we're sitting with Josh Powers. How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing all right. Thanks, Lester.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming by and visiting.
Yeah, it's fun. We're coming to you live from Josh's kitchen. It's a good a place as any.
Right.
It works. So tell us a little bit about kind of how you ended up in parking. I mean, right now you're with Dixon Resources Unlimited now.
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
But how did you, what was your entry into parking? What did you start doing initially?
It's funny you should ask. I used to be a retail manager. So
really?
From the time I graduated high school, I was selling products over counter and managing sales staff. So I went in everywhere from electronics at Tandy and Radio Shack before they went under to high-end furniture at Ethan Allen. I was running 3 stores out in the Washington, D.C., tri-state area.
So I remember that a little bit. You went through Tandy's like management program and all that stuff.
That's right.
They were fairly organized as a group for that sort of thing.
They really were. It was a good program, especially being at a young age. I was just very eager at that time. And unfortunately, we had some fallout and reorganization within that region. And
Sure.
They let 7 people within the management and training program go on New Year's Eve. So,
Wow.
Yeah, it was a rough New Year's.
That's kind of the start of like the whole internet sales age and stuff like that. So I'm sure that started having its effect then.
Yep, for sure. And beyond that, I actually got a call from an old friend that I grew up with in high school, in junior high, actually, one of my oldest friends and still is to today. I called about 2 weeks after
Chris
I
Hale?
had gotten laid off. Yeah, Chris Hale. In fact, you do know him. Yeah, good dude, and always a good friend, would offer you the shirt off of his back. And sure enough, it was 2 weeks after I'd gotten laid off. He calls and says, "Hey man, how are you doing? Long time no catch up." I said, "Well, it's funny you ask. I'm not doing anything at the moment."
And where are you living at this point?
At this point in time, I'm in Bakersfield, California.
Bakersfield, nice.
Yeah, me and Buck Owens.
Dwight Yoakam too.
Oh goodness, more. Yeah. So anyway, he offered. He says, I don't know if you're up for it, but if you'd like to come check out the East Coast. He was currently living in Harpers Ferry or Charlestown, West Virginia, and was working.
Beautiful area.
Yeah. It's a really nice river, and you get the seasons there.
Yeah. Especially the crappy ones.
Yeah. And it's pretty much 1 week of the 2 nice ones, I think. No one likes the cold or the humidity for that matter.
No. So you moved out to West Virginia.
Yeah, it was funny. He offered me the opportunity. He says, "Look, if you want a place to stay, you can come crash at my house. And look, the place I'm working at, we're always looking for good people. So if you like, come on over." And 1 week later, I was on an airplane.
Wow.
I sold all my non-personal belongings, and I moved across the country, 2,700 miles, and just went.
Off you went. Wow.
Yep. So that was my last stint in high-end retail, which was furniture at that time. Worked for the small company called Greenfront, and then moved on to Ethan Allen. Did that for about 4 years while I was on the East Coast. After that, I was at a point in my life. I had met a woman and had 2 beautiful boys, and they were starting to grow up, and here I am working retail and all my weekends and my holidays and
every weekend,
evenings.
holiday, evening, all the important times.
Yeah, it was kind of tough. So I got blessed, and I was given the opportunity to get out of that market. I wanted to coach baseball is what I wanted to do. I wanted to spend the weekends and the holidays with the boys and watch them grow and be part of that. So retail wasn't where it was at, and I was given the opportunity by a good friend of mine. And I was given the opportunity, and I started on January of 2008. And it was 20 degrees on the waterfront in Maryland at a place called National Harbor. was my first day with Sentry Control Systems as an installer.
So you got to see parks from the ground up, like sites being built
from the dirtiest part up.
Yeah,
yes,
that was a pretty bad
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, icy conditions, your fingers are frozen. But I got to be honest with you, to this day, I'm super, super thankful and grateful for learning at that level. Because now I really feel like I know all the different aspects of parking, not just how to put it in the ground, but the right way to put it in the ground. And then progressing through things like National Harbor, which is a huge site for the East Coast at that time for that company. DC USA, we did Pentagon Row, which was our first big PGS
Tyson's
job.
Tyson's
Corner Center. Tyson's 2 was massive, and that was all because of the Metro extension, the Silver Line extension that was going on out there. So yeah,
similar to what's going on in LA right now with the Metro extending out there. There's a lot of synergy to what happened on that whole Silver Line expansion in Dulles, in that whole Dulles, Herndon, Reston, Chantilly. People are gonna feel that effect here.
That's right. Yep, they just got approved for a major, like billions of dollars worth of funds to make that project successful. Same thing here in San Diego, actually. The trolley line is going all the way up past La Jolla.
Wow.
Yeah, into University City. So it's kind of spurring the same push that Tyson's had back then, where Mesa Ridge was protecting their parking assets.
And for the reason they wanted it for.
Yep, exactly, for the customers there.
So you're in West Virginia at this time. You worked, so you were working on projects out there, and then, so now you're in California. So you moved out here after that?
I got the opportunity to, in back east, I learned all sorts. I was installing, and then I got very technical, started managed technical aspect and IT, and kind of grew into myself, really learning a lot of different aspects of the business. Got the opportunity to come out, and I played the role of director of operations for Sentry out of Van Nuys, which was the headquarters at that time. Super cool move. Get to come back to my roots. I grew up in Southern California, so I got the opportunity to come back, be closer to my folks, and the boys and I got to enjoy some good weather. So not a bad deal. Yeah,
that's cool. So it's a good foundation for most things.
I agree. And the business aspect was a lot different in California compared to the East Coast as well.
Well, the pace,
right?
Different pace.
I guess the motivation's all the same, but pace and the customer base was a lot different as well. Out there it was money. Out here it's money and movie stars. So.
Yeah, I got you. So now you're with Dixon Resources Unlimited. Now you're a consultant.
That's right.
So now you're working directly, because I remember you had a role where you were doing system commissioning and basically kind of being that parking expert that helped people kind of adopt their new park system or whatever it was they were working on.
That's right.
What they were getting, you were helping them basically utilize that technology to the fullest. So your role now as a consultant must be very similar to what you were doing when you were doing that aspect of it.
I'm doing now on a daily basis what I used to enjoy very seldomly with the old role.
Yeah, it's all the things you love the most.
Absolutely, yeah. Love to be able to talk to the technology, what it's capable of. When people say, "Hey, I want to do this," I like to challenge it and say, "What else can you do with it?"
Sure.
So it's really given me. I keep saying they're paying me for my brain now, right?
That's a good place to be.
Yeah, but I was on a project in Nevada last week, and it was proof positive of, wow, you know what? Those 20-degree days in freezing weather, whether it would be wrapping, sealing loops, or terminating Cat 5, knowing how to do all those small little pieces of it really became invaluable.
I think it's akin to a carpenter knowing what's behind the wall, right?
Yeah, that's right. So, so it's a complete transitional change for me, but I'm really enjoying the work. I'm learning much more of the business than I knew before. Before I knew off-street parking, I knew parks equipment, knew ski data, I knew parking guidance systems, had a little bit of multi-space meter influence, mobile apps. But now I'm learning the on-street aspect of it as well, which is a completely different
Well, the municipality side too, right? So now you're having to deal with legislation and all those things too. So it's good. It's a good growth opportunity.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's amazing. I mean, how often do I go visit City Hall, you
Yeah.
know, and sit in those meetings? Yeah, it's
That's cool.
it's a completely different role. Like I said, learning the other side of the business, and really a whole different vault of concerns from the public, from the stakeholders, and understanding how important it is to get buy-in from everybody before you roll out.
Yeah, let's before we move on too much, let's talk about that. What's going on in Los Angeles and in San Diego as well. So bringing, an actual real metro system to LA that's a huge deal because there's never really been anything there before like that. Now you've got all these cities, municipalities that are more suburban type environments that just aren't charging for parking today. And now I was in Inglewood the other day, and I'm looking at them building the new metro stop, and right across from it, I don't even know if they're building parking or if they're building pretty minimal. Right across from it's this strip mall. It's nothing special, right? I mean, it's just this kind of like small outdoor strip mall. No controlled parking whatsoever. You know that they're going to get poached like endlessly.
Right.
So that means they're going to have to do something to protect that for the customers that are there.
Mm-hmm.
Are you dealing with that with other areas as well you're seeing, or?
Well, I'll go back to San Diego. It's the same thing. It is forced control all the way up the corridor. So when you get the mass transit that comes into play, that just enables folks to have a closer spot to park. And, everyone complains about the airport parking prices and a way to save the buck. Yeah, everyone's getting jabbed by the Ubers and the Lyfts as it is. But at the end of the day, people like to drive their own cars. So if they have that ability and they can do it without, paying an arm and a leg, they'll continue to do so. So when the metro drops right across the street from you, you're going to get poached unless you put some sort of rules in place. And that's not necessarily from a strip mall standpoint, but from a municipal standpoint.
Well, I think any free parking is going to get.
Oh yeah,
people are going to go gravitate to it.
Whether it's a medical center, whether it's a university parking lot, whether it's a public garage, it's all going to get poached. And at that point, you have to make the decision of whether to control it or enforce it.
So that means even like residential areas too will be impacted if they're close enough. People can walk over to the metro stop.
That's right.
I think you see that in a lot of the beach communities now, where you have people that, they don't want to pay for parking at the beach, but they'll go into the residential neighborhood and find a spot in front of someone's house, park there, and then go camp out for the entire day.
Yeah, that's right. We've got a great client in Seal Beach, the city of Seal Beach, award winner at the Pie Show this year for their technology that we've helped roll out there. And that's a really good example of a beach community that, in the summertime, it completely changes that atmosphere. Goes from, residents that would like to just have their car parked out in front of their house, at their comfort, to turning that into a 2-hour zone for the real commercial areas,
So what do you do for the residents when you turn it into a 2-hour zone?
It's permits, So
you have to have a permit
put
program.
a very structured plan in place. You really have to do it. It's important to get buy-in from everybody.
Sure.
So we do a lot of outreach. It's a lot of analytics. It really is.
What do you think about parking sensors in those environments, like the space sensors on the ground?
It certainly helps automate the process. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. I mean, look.
There's directed enforcement, right?
Yeah. You've got LPR is big right now. Of course, we've all heard about the new tire chalking rules, and
how does that affect this? How does it affect that industry? You're almost mandatory to go with a sensor in the ground, right?
Yeah. It's
all you're
it's
left
drastic.
with. Huh?
Well, no, you're left with LPR. You can't physically touch the vehicle. Is the rule?
Really?
So it's at the end of the day, that was a fight worth putting a bigger dog in. There's no doubt. It got left to the side, and of course,
I don't think the people that made that ruling really knew what the impact was going to be.
They didn't. They fought the wrong battle. Actually, they were kind of going into it with a complete different aspect of it, and the reality is that someone said, "Look, they're clearly bullying me. This is an invasion of my privacy, and I don't think you should be able to come after me or my property, and therefore, don't touch my property. So, don't touch my tires."
So does that affect like things like booting and stuff as well?
That's correct. You can't physically touch that vehicle at all.
So that's now a federally you can't.
It's on the table. There's like I said, plenty
Are
of people
cities
trying to fight
changing
it.
what they're doing today as a result, or not yet?
Everyone's considering it at the moment. Absolutely.
So they got to come up with an alternative to.
That's right.
So if you're selling in-ground sensors or LPR or digital tire chalking stuff, like your business just got really good.
Yeah, you're in a good spot. Yeah. That is Yahoo stock, right?
Yeah, no doubt, huh?
Yep. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. That's really the biggest thing at the moment. I would say that's kind of ruffling everyone's feathers. I mean, it goes not just to tire chalking, but it goes to booting. It goes to placing things on the windshields. It also goes back to towing. It's they're really not considering the consequences of putting some of these things in place.
So that affects you as a municipality, but does that affect you as a private lot as well? Like if somebody's like, say you have a private lot you're trying to enforce. It was always the thing was, okay, if I don't gate it, that means I can boot it in tow. Does it affect that as well?
Look, I mean, the private world's a completely different set of standards, right? You are coming on private property. In a paid scenario, you've got disclaimers. It says, these are our rules. We're not responsible for your property, hours of operation, and so on and so forth. So I think it makes a big difference. But yeah, on a public street, everyone feels that entitlement and, and in this case, entitlement to break the law sometimes. And the reality is that if you look at a lot of these, time zones and different policies, it's really for the greater good. Once again, it's because the people that live in the neighborhood want a place to park, or it's because the shop owners want their paying customers to be able to park in front of their store and not the guy who runs the shop next door. So just a good example of a customer who's laid out some of that technology and kind of future-proofed themselves, which is probably the big name in the game at the moment. Yeah.
Wow. That's going to, so we don't even know the impacts, what that says long term. You think that'll get overturned or do you think it's done?
No, I think there's a lot of resistance at the moment.
Okay.
We've got some big lobbying going against, and, like I said, we'll take a little more effort into it this second time around.
Sure.
But it did get everybody's feathers ruffled, no doubt.
I'm thinking about like the red light cameras in California. So that all went in place and then got overturned. But California's kind of, yeah.
Right. So I'm here in Carlsbad, and Carlsbad's widely known for its intersection cameras, all the LPR cameras that are in use here. They're not necessarily used for red light, but they are certainly used for things like your hot lists and whatnot.
Okay.
It's Carlsbad's just one of those towns for one odd reason.
There's a political will.
Yeah, we don't have any parking enforcement for the beach, but we do, in fact, have a bunch of LPR cameras.
Don't drive a stolen car through Carlsbad.
That's right. That's right.
Well, you see that on top of all the police vehicles and stuff now, too.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
One thing I wanted to get your input on. So I had a really interesting talk with Melissa Keku from City Lift, and we were talking about future parking structures that are being built, because they're still building parking structures, even though I think most people think that will look differently in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. There'll be a progression that changes that. But one of the things that she was focused on was when they do build new structures or you build new parking areas, because you need them today, making sure they could be turned into something else in the future, which meant ramps that can be removed or flat floors. Sure. Just thinking about what that looks like in the future. What do you think about that?
That's super interesting, and I got to be honest, that's a lot of foresight. The way it is right now, it's build residential, and lessening the parking impact, right? So it's less and less spaces per unit.
The cities are changing their requirement per square footage, right?
Yep, that's right. It's more mass transit. We've got scooters and bikes, and you can walk. It's yeah, you can work within your zip code. But the reality is a lot of development fights that fight, and they fight it well. And the reality is that the price of a living room is more valuable than the price of a parking space in some cases. So that's the idea of repurposing a parking structure is very thought forward, in my opinion.
Especially when they're underneath an office tower or something like that, or you see the first 4 levels of an office building is all parking. Just like I'm not even sure how long it's going to take for all that to happen. I mean, I think that it's funny. Everyone seems to have a very similar vision of what the future looks like, right? I'm sleeping in my car. It doesn't even have a steering wheel. Maybe I'm sitting back, hanging out, doing whatever,
Right.
drinking a beer while we're going down the road, whatever it is, right? That dystopian future. I think everyone has a really good idea of what that looks like. I think everyone just can't figure out how we get there. Like how long it's going to take to get there. But you see this every day.
For sure.
Every day you see the strides happening, right? The changes happening. Whether it's Tesla or whether it's there's that company in Vegas that's doing vehicles that are doing like it's a route that the vehicle takes to moving people with a driverless car. But I think there's still somebody in there managing it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I forget the name of it, but I think there's still somebody in the car.
Right.
Like kind of engineer kind of overseeing it.
Super green, super efficient. Yep. Yeah. Electronic vehicles that just kind of pass you from.
I mean, the technology's there for the most part. Like my mother-in-law, of all people, she was like probably 60 years old, and she got hired by a mine in Colorado. And she sat in the dump truck as it did a circuit. Literally, the dump truck was self-driving. And this is 10 years ago. Where she sat in this dump truck and it went from the mine, picked up a load, moved it over to another and moved the material to the crusher. Now the tires on this thing were, like 3 stories tall. I mean, it was this giant vehicle. And she just sat in it. And she was like the just in case.
So the one to pull the lever if need be, huh?
Yeah, just the one just to keep an eye on things.
Wow. Interesting.
I wonder if she was sleeping the whole time or not. Because I think she could have, right? But they had to have somebody in that vehicle to do that.
I saw a big rig.
It's a very controlled environment, but
saw a big rig carrying another big rig. This was one of those new automated Walmart semis.
I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, so I guess they're on the cutting edge of trying to be efficient, right? So it's a single seater, but it's a semi. I mean, it's a Peterbilt semi truck, with like a small little cockpit on it, and it's the next phase towards the automation. You brought up a big point earlier. The reality is that, yes, you've got big cities that are making these changes and, building structures because it might be something else soon. One thing I'm learning more and more is that regardless of what the future might look like, every situation's dynamic. It could be a major metropolitan city that's got a huge, transit issue, or it could be a small urban area that might be close to the beach and just favored in the seasons. Every single situation has a different solution, is what it seems. I mean, it all boils down to putting the right technology in place, but you don't want to throw the kitchen sink.
That's a really good point. So as much as we all focus on this, everybody has a similar vision, but when you actually dive into the, like the micro, in an individual city or even on an individual street or with one structure inside of one here or one street on a city that you might need to offer a different solution depending on that. So it's a really good reminder to pay attention to the details on that stuff to come up with the right solution, not just the most technologically advanced thing you can do just for fun.
That's it. There's no cookie cutter solution. I'm finding that a lot of analytics and, like I said, outreach seems to get you really the kind of the proof you're looking for to make the right decision.
Like literally political outreach, just hearing what the community has to feedback from the community.
Yeah, totally. Is
there usually a common voice, or is it all over the map?
No, there's a lot of consistency, and then outside of consistency, you'll say, okay, if we peel the onion back a little bit further, what's the consistency within a 1 mile radius compared to a 2 mile radius? Right? Because those two opinions can be completely different if you're talking about, let's say, downtown parking.
We have different impacts and different problems that they're facing.
Mm-hmm. You can almost put money on which one you think it's going to, which way it'll go. So,
wow. So, what's your favorite thing about this new role that you're in?
I am building my inventory of knowledge again. I got stagnant where I was. I loved what I do. I always say that nobody goes to school to be in parking, right? Just It's not that.
That's a really common theme. If you listen to every episode of Parker X, it's like, I really didn't know what this is going to turn into,
Yeah.
but
I was going
here
to
I
be a
am.
doctor,
Yeah.
but
Well, we talked to Whitney the other day. It's like I was going to be an attorney, but decided parking was better.
perfect example. Yep. And you know what? It takes a certain skill set to really adhere to it. And I'm pleased to say that I think I've really stuck to it. Like I said, feel very grateful that I got the opportunity that I did. And yeah, at this point now that I get to learn a completely different facet of the business, and playing a different role is super critical to me, because I think the learning experience and seeing what else is out there is the most critical thing. My new role is to understand all of the options that are out there,
That's cool.
and understand them to the nuts and bolts level.
And then come back and apply them
Yep, that's right.
to the different in situations.
That's absolutely right.
That's a privilege. That's cool.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
What do you think Dixon Resources does best for its clients?
To my point earlier about every situation being a little bit dynamic, I would say that we really dig down into the nitty gritty of every parking operation. It's looking at the needs, assessing those things.
It's really coming in and just focusing on that situation, not just trying to take what you already knew and just,
there's so many folks out there that are good at just building a spec and saying, all right, you guys, this is what you need. Call me how, and let me know how it goes in 5 years. And, it's not always the path of best. It's
Sure.
not the best path in general. What Dixon does really well is we get involved and we stay involved. In fact, we find out a lot of our clients actually just continue with our services well past the base, contract, past the implementation, past the RFP, whatever that is.
So as you guys grow, do you think you'll be able to maintain that? Or is that the core thing you have to maintain?
The quality is one thing we have to maintain. There's no doubt about it. And it's one thing we're doing really well.
I mean, I've been part of an organization that was growing, and I understand I understand the issues that come along with scaling.
That's right.
And still, we worked together, right? It was a point where every client that we worked with got you or I focused completely on making their system the best that it possibly could be. And as we moved into management roles and we moved on, and we had to move quicker, the luxury of being able to build a person from scratch, let them cut loops, let them do all those things, right? Like you lose that, you don't have that anymore. So you have two choices. You either have to take a long time building someone, or you have to go steal and try to find those people that can actually do that. So what is the thing that Dixon Resource Unlimited wants to keep most? It's quality, I get, but what else is there? What else is it that says, okay, you're going to get Dixon Resources Unlimited, and here's the thing you're going to get that is the most important to us?
Well, like I said, we don't stop at the base requirement. We really future-proof and look forward past what the original solicitation was. They said, look, we need help putting an RFP together. And the reality is that it goes past that. I always did say that customers don't really know the next step to take in the process of whether it's speccing equipment or buying equipment, or heaven forbid you get it and then you don't know how to operate it. You missed a couple aspects. So the reality is that we do know more about parking than 90% of the other people in the room anytime any of us parking folks walk in to a room, right?
I think it was Ken to we used to do commissioning stuff, and the person says, well, I need to be able to, the equipment needs to be able to do this. Mm-hmm. You're like, well, what are you actually trying to accomplish here? I mean, you've come to a solution and you've decided this is what you want to do, but let's talk about what you're actually trying to accomplish, and then we'll worry about how we get there. So
there you
that's
go. There you go. It's rethinking it. Yep.
Yeah.
Where's my report that says the first and last ticket that I pulled of the day?
Well, I mean, I think the point is, you just said it, right? So, I mean, actually going to, stop focusing on instead of the customer usually will come to you with, I have to be able to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But actually diving in and figuring out why they think it needs to do that, and going, okay, going all the way to the end goal. What do you want?
That's right.
and then kind of reverse engineering that all the way back and just figure out what you need to do along the way. So that's a nice thing to get as a client.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, with Dixon, we're looking at the whole entire operation. After that, we'll give you an owner's manual at the end of it. Here's how you run your new parking operation.
When you guys are able to blend the on-street with the off-street, the municipal and the private world together.
Absolutely.
I was really intrigued by the San Leandro doing those public-private partnerships.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
It's a cool project. Project. I got to visit my first time just 2 weeks ago.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I grew up
Big
up there, so that's
success.
like this little, like San Leandro's like you blink, you go by it. I mean, it's no offense to San Leandro,
Yeah.
but it's just not, it's like stuck there between Oakland and Hayward, and you kind of just don't really think a whole lot about it. It's like, oh, we're in San Leandro. No, now we're not.
For sure. Yeah. There is a metro station.
There is a metro.
Massive metro station.
Yeah, I would imagine there is. A bunch of people live there. It's more of a bedroom community than it is like big business. But.
Super cute, very quaint
Yeah.
town. Yeah. Probably a pleasure to live there, actually.
Oh, the weather's always nice
Sure.
down there.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, hey man, thanks for being on the show. That was good.
Yeah, thank you.
So, how does someone
Always
get a hold
pleasure.
of you if they're looking to try to get you engaged on one of their projects?
Well, you can always go online, of course, and Dixon Resources Unlimited is very available on there. Not necessarily a 1-800 number that you call, but we're available on LinkedIn and all the big parking resources.
What's your email address?
My email address is josh@dixonresourcesunlimited.com.
Nice. I can't tell you how happy I am that my email address is now my first name at, because I hardly have to spell anything anymore. It's like awesome.
I kind of miss my old one.
Do you really?
J Powers.
No, mine was L Mascon, and then I had to spell that, and then I had to spell everything else. It was terrible. Cool, man. Thanks, man. This has been fun.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the podcast. Having a great time doing this. If you're enjoying it, if you're getting value from it, please leave some feedback. Please subscribe. There's a lot of people listening, not as many subscribers. So if you could subscribe, comment, and share it. Please share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Tell your mom. Tell your dad. Tell everyone. Thanks.